Yo. Good morning to you wonderful people, ladies and gentlemen who are in today to watch the Halftime Podcast. As always, this is Coach Malcolm and
this is Coach Conrad, as always.
How are we feeling, Coach? How you doing today?
We're doing great. Feeling energized. Finally got some good sleep the night before the podcast. It's been a while. So.
Man, I think I'm right there with you. I think this is probably the most fresh I've felt for our morning podcast in a long time.
And let me tell you, what better episode to feel fresh than this one, right?
25, baby. Yes, episode 25.
And as the viewers see, we're in a different little setup here.
Yeah. We've changed some things around. How you like it, Coach?
I like it, man. I'm really loving it. Definitely a more comfortable look for us, kind of more casual as well.
Absolutely.
It does feel nice, though, and us being able to kind of just look at you guys when we're talking straight is definitely one of the benefits of having it set up like this. So definitely looking for you guys' feedback as well. If you guys are like, oh, no, we don't want to see this, then we'll just go back.
I like that. Yeah. Definitely let us know what you think of the change. Obviously, right now, we're doing this. This is the first episode where we've switched some things around. If you guys like this setup, then we'll definitely try to make sure that we can provide a little bit more aesthetics in the background than we have right now, right? Like we said, we're just trying some different things. So let us know how you feel. And if you want to send us anything that we can put on the wall, that'd be dope as hell.
For sure.
That would help us a lot because we would definitely like to rotate some things. We wouldn't necessarily want the wall to just stay stagnant. So, if you got some things that you want to send over, some artwork, pictures, obviously we will hope that it's sports related. Don't get too carried away. You know, I'm pretty sure we got some people that love our show that are probably a little kooky. Like us. So don't send anything crazy. Make sure it's sports related. But if you got artwork pictures, we could definitely shout you out, sponsor you, all that type of stuff. That'd be fire.
That's the cool part of it is, if you do end up sending your stuff, it does become a feature of the show, essentially, its own little part of the show, and you get to be involved in that. So that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. All right, Coach, you ready?
Let's get into it, man.
All right. First up on the docket is the halftime give and go. And you know how it goes. 30 seconds each for each one of us to give our opinion on the topic. No argument back and forth. We just either say yay or nay. And first on the docket, well, we've heard news that the Dallas Mavericks might have to forfeit games, Coach, and we'll get deeper into this in a second, but it's due to injuries and some salary cap issues. All I'm going to say is this. I've never seen this before in the NBA where teams literally have to forfeit games, and it's kind of just what it is. I mean, they have a lot of players that are out, and I will kind of see if this ends up being the case. Right now, it's a fringe decision, and we'll get to why it's a fringe decision, but this is something that I've never seen before, quite unprecedented, and I'm actually kind of interested to see if it actually happens, what that looks like for the teams that have the Dallas Mavericks still on their schedule. Do they just not travel? Is that just another practice day? I'm interested to see how that goes. But, interesting thing.
Yeah, no, definitely interesting. All right, second topic on me. Jamar Chase gets a fat extension with the Cincinnati Bengals. $40 million a year, I believe, 41.
Something like that.
Outdoes Myles Garrett. He's now the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Rightfully so. We knew coming into this extension time for Jamar Chase, he was going to ask for this type of money. He's well deserving of it. He showed it every single year he's played. He deserves the money. I think now the only question with Cincinnati is how they're going to figure out the rest of this team in this cap. Staying on me and staying on the Bengals for topic number 3. T. Higgins also actually gets an extension, becomes the highest paid wide receiver number 2 in the league. Like I said, Cincinnati, I think it's a great time to be a Cincinnati fan simply because their ownership has never actually paid real money to players like this before.
That's true.
So I'm sure if you're a Cincinnati fan, it's actually a pretty exciting time, but it's also a very nerve-wracking time because now you got to figure out, okay, are we going to pay Trey Hendrickson? Probably don't have the money to do that because he's going to ask for Max Crosby type of money, right? He's got the stats to back it up. Probably won't be able to pay him. Lord knows what you're going to be able to pay anything else on the defensive line or anything in your secondary. So it's very interesting to see how Cincinnati's going to operate. And they got to be really good in the draft now, because if they can't draft, then this team's going to go to waste.
Completely agree. Moving on to the next topic. The New York Jets are now the New York Buckeyes. They have went and got as many players from Ohio State as they possibly could. And I think there could be some magic there. Some familiarity can probably breed a lot of success. These guys have played with each other. They've been in the trenches with one another, and they fought hard for one another. So there's a possibility that this could go really well, and there's a possibility it can go really bad. We see the New York Knicks became the Villanova Knicks, and there's some success to it. They haven't proven to win a championship just yet, but they are a good team. So I think the New York Jets kind of saw that model of what the New York Knicks did and thought, hey, maybe we can do this too. Maybe there is some magic to being able to get guys all on the same team that's been on the same college roster.
Yeah, I agree with you. Moving on to our next topic. The Lakers keep on rolling. All right. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves have been balling the crap out. With the absence of LeBron, he should be coming back anytime soon here, I believe. But They are 6-4 in their last 10. Pretty okay-ish record, but they're only one game back from tying the second place spot in the Western Conference. This is where, in this time of the year, it's very interesting to see how this Western Conference is going to play out, because everything is so tight.
Yeah.
I mean, you move all the way down to the number 6 spot. The Warriors are they're 4 games back from the number 2 spot. You know what I mean? So it's very tight within the whole conference. So I'm really interested to see how this goes. I think the Lakers are going to keep on going. Luka Doncic has been playing great ball. And if LeBron comes back anytime soon, they just got Jackson Hayes back as well from injury. This team's looking pretty good coming up to the playoffs.
And Christian Wood is coming back, right?
That's what they're saying. I have no. He's been saying he's been coming back for 2 years now. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
That's true. All right, moving on to the last topic of the halftime give and go. The USC Women's Big Ten Championship team. Look, Juju Watkins is playing great. The team is playing great around her. Coaching is good. There's a strong chance that USC, the women's team, could be in position to win a national championship this year. If that happens, then I'm sure Juju Watkins will leave off in the sunset as a champion and make her way to the WNBA. And if that happens to be the case, what a great career for her in college. But as always, you got to go out there and win and play, because the NCAA tournament is one game only. And if you're not playing well that night, anybody, and I literally mean anybody, can beat you. And we all know this when it comes down to March Madness and how things goes and how you look at your brackets. You could think you have it made and think you have it right, but one team can come out there and just completely obliterate you, and that kills everything. So shout outs to the USC women's team for being the Big Ten champions. We will find out what they will do in the tournament.
Yeah,
all right, Coach. That's been a halftime give and go. Now, you ready to play our game?
Let's play our game, man.
Let's play our game. You know what it is. Who's cooking and who should stay the out the kitchen? Number one on who's cooking. As we all know, I just got done talking about this team in our halftime give and go. Juju Watkins. She is completely balling. I'm going to say this, Coach. The NBA had a comparison at one point in time, or they had like a thing where they had the whole Larry Bird and Magic Johnson thing. And we kind of see a similar effect of that between like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in the WNBA. What I'm going to tell everybody now is Juju Watkins. That's Michael Jordan coming into the WNBA.
All right.
That's Michael Jordan.
All right.
That's Michael Jordan coming into the WNBA. It would have been Cheryl Miller, Reggie Miller's sister. Had the WNBA been around when she was a hooper, she would have been like the original, I guess, Jordan. Maybe she would have been like the Dr. J of the WNBA, because that's kind of how you see Michael. He's like Dr. J 3.0. Juju Watkins is going to be the Michael Jordan of the WNBA, Coach.
Wow. I mean, no doubt she's been playing great ball. Second year at USC, averaging insane numbers at the college level.
Yes.
Consistently putting up double-doubles as well. Being 6'2", she is a little bit taller on that end.
And she's strong.
She's strong. She's strong as hell.
She's
no
strong.
doubt about it. And, I mean, being able to pull in rebounds like that and put up the points she's putting up is no question to how great she's Shakari's been playing recently, and that's why USC has had their success. Granted, you need the rest of the team around you,
of
too.
Course.
And she's really been the star of this NCAA season for women's, and I'm excited to see what they do in the tournament. I think it'll be very interesting. There's some good matchups within that first round, a lot of upsets that could happen.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get into our men's later, but we got to give the women's credit where credit is due, because I agree with you, man. Juju Watkins is one of those players that you could argue, like, dang, like she could mess around and play in the NBA type of thing.
Okay, let's not go too far.
I don't think I'm going too far. But
you think she could really hoop in the NBA?
I'm telling you, man.
Shit, the way the rules are in the NBA, shit, you can't touch nobody no more. So
exactly.
Yeah, I guess shit, she probably could come in there and drop 20 points a game.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, moving on to who else is cooking. We got to give some love to this team. They're a divisional team. I don't really want to give them credit because, like Joakim Noah said, who the fuck wants to go to Cleveland? But we got to give Darius Garland some love for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, it'd be easy to pick Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell always gets all the praise. So I want to give Darius Garland a little bit of love because he's been hooping. He's been one of the best clutch point guards this entire season. He manages the team very well. He puts everybody in position to score and be effective, from Evan Mobley to Jared Allen to even Donovan Mitchell. And he still manages to do the things that he needs to do as a point guard on the floor, score when he needs to score, assist when he needs to assist. And at times, if he has to take the game over completely, he's able to do that, because there's been plenty of games where Donovan Mitchell did not play and Darius Garland showed up and did his job. So I want to just shout out the Cleveland Cavaliers and Darius Garland, most importantly, because he's leading this team. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA, arguably. They have, I think, the best record right now between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, if I'm not mistaken.
Tied with the Thunder.
Tied with the Thunder. Okay, they got the same record. What is it, 50-11?
56-12.
56-12. So one thing for sure, they will not beat the Golden State record or the Bulls record, so we still hold that over as Chicago Bulls fans.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I want to give some love to Darius Garland, because I do think what they're doing in Cleveland is commendable, and I'm interested to see if they're going to be that type of team in the playoffs. But for right now, Darius Garland and the Cleveland Cavaliers are on a roll.
Yeah, no doubt. Earlier in the season, when we were talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and they were on their run, everybody was a little bit skeptical because they were always supposed to be a good team. They always had these pieces, but the question was, can the guys stay healthy?
Yeah.
And Darius Garland right now is on pace to play the most games in a season in his career. Right now he's played, 64 games out of the 68.
Wow.
And the highest he's ever played in a season is 69 games, and that was 2 seasons ago. So I think that's honestly one of the main factors why Cleveland's having their success, is because
they're healthy.
You know what you're going to get out of Donovan Mitchell every single night. Evan Mobley's another one of those guys that needs to stay healthy, but he has been. And Darius Garland, I mean, this year averaging 21 points on 7 assists and 3 rebounds a night. That's the point guard play that they've needed all year and last year too. And that's why you see the success from the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. I think they're legit. I think the record shows it. I think come to the playoffs, there's going to be some interesting matchups that end up happening. I think the East is very weak this year, like extremely weak.
I think it's weak record-wise, but I think when the playoffs start, we're going to see a different Eastern Conference.
I hope so, because, man, right now it's not looking too bright. The fact that the Bulls are the number 9 in the play-in,
we'll get to them.
Yeah, shout out to Darius Garland. He's been hooping. I've always liked his play since he came into the league, and it's nice to see him finally staying on the court.
You know what? Darius Garland was, I think, one of the point guards, was between him and Tyrese Halliburton. They were one of the 2 point guards that I wanted the Bulls to draft when they had a chance to be drafted. So it's kind of...
and who do we take?
I don't want to talk about it. But I got to talk about these bums anyway, because moving on to our favorite part of the game, who should stay the fuck out the kitchen? And number 1 on who should stay the fuck out the kitchen, our beloved Chicago Bulls. Look, I don't understand this shit. I'm going to be quite honest. You traded Zach. You didn't trade Vooch. You didn't trade Lonzo. You couldn't get enough for Vucevic. You wasn't willing to give up Lonzo. And you traded Zach LaVine for a bag of peanuts. and you still cannot fucking tank correctly. I don't understand this shit. I don't get it. Why are you not trying to be the worst you could possibly be at this point? What are you going to gain from going into the play-in? And even if you make the playoffs, what are you going to gain by playing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round? What, you just want to hand the Cleveland Cavaliers a first round win? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing? What plan do you have, Arturis? Just trying to get these, we want to stay competitive. For fucking what? Waste this fucking year so you can get a chance at getting a good draft pick. What, you want to land at number 8 and number 9 so this time if you make a bad pick, everybody won't be so upset that the pick you drafted at number 4 was an absolute dud? Is that what you're holding on to? Like, well, if we lessen our chance of getting a top pick, then whoever I draft, people won't be so mad about it this time. Like, is that what we're doing? That's such some loser shit. How about you put together a good scouting department? How about you take the fucking time out you need to watch some college fucking games so you can figure out who the fuck you should draft properly if you land in the top 4, which you should, because you should be trying to be one of the worst fucking teams at this point. But no, you're sitting around telling everybody that we're doing a great fucking job because now we moved from 10 to 9. Who gives a fuck? I don't want to see you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah.
God damn.
I don't think anybody wants to see him in the playoffs at this point. Like what? I agree with you. What is the point? I mean, Arturis is staying true to his word. What was what he said in the press conference, right? After the trade deadline, saying, "Oh, you know, it's great if this young team plays in play-in and playoff because
that's a great impression, by the way.
Experience, yeah, you know, my European side coming out, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's honestly no point in this team continuing to play well. I get it, maybe staying close in games, but man, Billy Donovan, like, throw in Julian Phillips as your starting point guard, like, in the last 2 minutes. Like, do something like that, outlandish, please, because we don't need to see this team win any more games. And at this point, they're 5 games clear. They're tied with Miami at the 10 spot, or 9 and 10, and then the 11th seed is 5.5 games back. So
yeah, they're not falling out of it.
The Bulls are pretty much in the play-in at this point.
Yep.
And it's really making me mad because, watch, we're going to mess around. We're going to win one game, and we're going to play the other game against
either Orlando or who's 8?
It's
who's 7?
it is Orlando and Atlanta. Atlanta's at 7.
7, yeah.
Which both of those games are
well,
winnable.
We most likely got a better chance of beating Atlanta than we do Orlando.
I agree with you, but I mean, it's so preposterous because then you make the first round of the playoffs, and then what? You play the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean by the Eastern Conference being a possible cakewalk for the top 2 teams, for Boston and for Cleveland. But yeah, Chicago, I don't know what we're doing. I guess the only bright side is seeing Matas Buzelis get minutes and watching him develop. That's the only thing I'm enjoying about this year is because he was our top pick last year. He has looked pretty okay. Granted, he still needs more development, but, I mean, when we're seeing guys like Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips still pick up good minutes, and I'm not seeing a lot of improvement from them, it really makes me question the player development department.
All I'm going to say is I could watch some good off-season videos from Matas Buzelis and be just as perfectly fine than being worried about us trying to give him minutes in this fucking season so that we can potentially make a play-in so that these guys can get experience on winning when you haven't even put together a competitive fucking roster in the first place to win. You had all fucking season, Arturis, to put together a competitive roster, and you completely chose not to.
This is our best product, huh?
So this is fuck them. Moving on.
Poor Vooch too, man.
Yeah,
I hope he
poor
leaves
Vooch.
this offseason.
Yeah, I hope he goes
better.
somewhere too, but for his sake, yes. But for some strange reason, I still feel like in the offseason, they're going to find some reason to say Vooch will be a great veteran mentor, blah, 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 to whoever the fuck they draft.
That'd be the most Chicago Bulls thing to do.
I can see that shit happening. Moving on to who else should stay the fuck out the kitchen, and this is just divine timing because we literally just talked about him the last episode or 2 episodes ago, one or the other, where we were discussing him being done with his podcast and whether or not that was going to be a good thing for the Philadelphia 76ers. But right on cue, Paul George, you're done for the season, huh? So back to the podcast you go. Because as soon as the information came out that he was going to be hurt and that he was gonna have to have some injections in his shoulder and some more shit. He's back to podcasting again, and his season with the Philadelphia 76ers is over with now. Look, this man came to Philadelphia and robbed y'all. I just want y'all to know that. I don't know exactly what the plan is going to be. Hell, I don't even know if he's going to be safe in Philadelphia at this point walking around, because he's literally came here, stole their money, not played any games, spent more time on a podcast than I do, and he gets paid way more than me. So shit, maybe I'm just mad because he doesn't even have to work for the money he gets.
He just sits there and yaps.
He just sits there and yap for fun, and then he goes to the game and sit on the bench.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of sitting and getting millions and millions of dollars. I wish I was 6'8", 6'7". Jeez.
Oh man, yeah, that's that's why I always say is like, man, if I was 6'7", 6'8", the things I would be doing in the NBA right now would be insane. But no, I agree with you. It's crazy to see. I think that whole Paul George, Joel Embiid experiment was such a fail of an attempt. I genuinely thought that Paul George still had something left in the tank. Because I thought his time
I did too.
I thought his time with the Clippers was promising at times when he was on the court, staying healthy. But we've seen that he just can't consistently stay on the floor. And then this year, when he's on the floor, he ain't doing anything. He's just out there getting cardio in at this point, and it's just. I mean, I could do that. You know what I mean? Like, to get paid $40 million to go run up and down a 94-foot court.
I would be the greatest basketball runner of all time.
Let me tell you.
For $40 million.
Yeah, for $40 million. We'll leave that for later. But back to podcasting he goes. Podcast P, playoff P, pandemic P, whatever he is now P.
Yeah. Pathetic P at this point.
P, right.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's the one we got for you. Pathetic P.
Yep.
Because at this point, it's pathetic, bro. And I mean, you may not ever hear this, you may not ever see this, but somebody else will, and they'll talk about it because we've been seeing a lot of people talk about some of our topics. But yeah, pathetic P. I don't know, bro. Like, you got to figure it out, man. Like, you used to be one of the best players in the NBA. Like,
I miss
people,
that too.
Yeah, people really thought like you had a chance to really become and blossom into one of the best players of your generation, and you've kind of just fizzled into being something way other than what people thought you were going to be. In Indiana, you were absolutely something crazy. Like, honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Maybe you need to go back to Indiana. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you need to go right back to Indiana, hoop with Tyrese Halliburton and Siakam, and see if there can be a trade figured out that way where you can end up back in Indiana. Because low key, you being back in Indiana might be the move. Because that could be a fire team. Even though at this point, it's like, if you couldn't work with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, why bother? If I'm Indiana,
that's what I mean. Like, I did think he had some gas left in the tank, but that thing is on E. It is. I think it's almost time for him to consider leaving. But I mean,
like retiring.
But at
Yikes.
At this point, I mean, what would be the point, considering he's still getting paid a boatload of money to do absolutely nothing for a basketball franchise? You know what I mean? Like, why not just stay in the league and, have your off season, have your training camps, and, go to your practices when you still could get paid $40 million a year. You know what I mean? It's just, at that point, it's an investment. It's an investment to stay on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, he's not going to think about retiring, because I guess at this point he would return to prove something. Because everybody is on his ass right now for like what this season has been. And low key, he's been the one that's been receiving most of the fire, because I guess everybody has just accepted that Joel Embiid is going to be Joel Embiid. Like, he's not going to have the ability to stay healthy. Tyrese Maxey is still young, so people aren't necessarily giving him that much heat. So really, Paul George is the one that's been taking most of the heat for the way the 76ers season has went, because certain other things are already kind of predicted to be. And so Paul George was supposed to be the glue between Tyrese being young and Joel Embiid always been hurt. But you come in and now you're always hurt. It's like, what's the make of this? So yeah, we'll see what he does. I mean, hopefully he makes a great decision. Hopefully he's able to get in the gym and do what he's supposed to do. But as of right now, pathetic P, you need to stay the fuck out the kitchen and actually leave the fucking house for a while. Go on a long vacation to refine yourself.
No doubt.
Find the guy that played in Indiana, not the guy that has been lingering with injuries since you left Oklahoma. All right. That's been our game, Coach. You ready to move on?
I'm so ready to move
You ready
on.
to move on?
Let's do it.
Let's get into the halftime report. Yeah. Yeah, you know how we rock and roll, baby. Right off the docket. All right, so we mentioned earlier in our give and go that the Mavs were potentially in a situation where they would have to forfeit some games. But right on cue, Anthony Davis is being prepared to go to the G League. So, with Anthony Davis potentially returning back to the Dallas Mavericks lineup, do you think this is just a matter of getting some guys on the floor so that they don't have to forfeit games? They got to get a star out there so the NBA can sell viewership on the Dallas Mavericks games? Or do you actually think that Anthony Davis returning back to the lineup will make a difference? Because right now, Dallas still holds that 10 spot.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if him coming back is going to do a lot. I mean, maybe it just keeps him at the 10 spot. Maybe they don't drop out of the play-in and Phoenix sneaks in. I think that's their best case scenario, is that they stay within the play-in. And then at that point, you're risking Anthony Davis getting hurt again, because we know when he rushes to come back and everybody's hype up and, Anthony Davis is back, he goes, messes around, and gets hurt the same game that he comes back. And is it going to matter? I mean, of course it's going to make a great impact on the team because he's that influential, especially with Kyrie being out. I think Derek Lively's still out, and I don't even know if Daniel Gafford is playing. I think they're still out as well. So they desperately need a big man to come back into the lineup. They also can't sign anybody, which is why they are at risk at forfeiting games, because they're almost at that. I think that the second apron or the first apron, something like that, where they would have to pay even higher tax, or they literally just can't sign anybody. They have not even on a minimum contract, and so that's why they're in the situation they are in. And I think it's going to work. I think it won't play out too well if Anthony Davis comes back really soon.
You think he's going to get hurt again?
Yeah, and then it's going to mess. I think it's going to mess with the whole start of the next season.
All season and everything like that. Because at this point, you might as well just let Kyrie and Anthony Davis be on the injury bug list and just let them kind of rehab together and figure it out in the offseason. And
then come back next year strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And then they can learn each other as well as they need to, as well with Clay, and learning how to find each other. They have a chance to still do something special, but if they rush Anthony Davis back, it probably won't work well. But just as a side note, the Phoenix Suns are only a game behind Dallas.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I mean.
Phoenix hasn't been winning, but Dallas has just been losing.
Been losing every game.
So like I said, potentially could happen was that Dallas would just lose themselves out of the play-in. I think personally that the Dallas Mavericks are just trying to bring Anthony Davis back so that, one, there's some type of viewership that can go for a Dallas Mavericks game. So the NBA isn't just losing money from advertising and stuff like that has been looking for Dallas. Because you have to think, a lot of these games that Dallas was scheduled for, especially if they're nationally televised games, was because of Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that Luka is not there, I guess the NBA could just kind of move and re-slot certain games, but there's only so many times you can potentially pivot and do those things. So I'm sure that the NBA has given Dallas a call and said, you got to put something out there.
Yeah.
Got to put something on that floor. Now, I don't know how much Anthony Davis is going to play, but he might just suit up, go out there and play maybe 18 to 20 minutes. 18 to 20 minutes of Anthony Davis could look spectacular. It could not, but it could be enough to keep the NBA off your back.
Right, especially not have to pay a fine.
Yeah, not have to pay a fine and not have to forfeit.
Right.
But that's enough on Anthony Davis. Let's move on to our next segment in the halftime report. All right, infamously, LeBron James came back home. And LeBron James came back home and he told everybody in Cleveland, I'm going to try to win it. I'm going to try to do it. I have some unfinished business here. Him, Kyrie, Kevin Love, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith. I think Tristan Thompson was part of that team as well. They pulled off a 3-1 comeback against the Golden State Warriors. And LeBron James infamously stated at the parade. No, at the game, at the end of the game. Cleveland, this is for you. He was so passionate.
Very.
Very, very passionate. And then he was so passionate that after another year of that shit, 2 more years of that shit, actually, he said, I got to get the fuck up out of here. So he was real passionate. He just, that one championship saved him from being a villain in his hometown and his home state forever. But Cleveland, the new Cleveland, the modern day Cleveland era, with Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley, they have won the Central Division. The Central Division includes them, Detroit, Chicago, Indiana, and the Milwaukee Bucks. I never would have thought I would have seen a day where the Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron James will be amongst the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That's number one. And then number two, I didn't think that they will be back at least beating out the Central Division when you got Milwaukee and Indiana there. I didn't see that. Didn't foresee that. So we talked about Cleveland and Darius Garland earlier. My question for you, do the Cleveland Cavaliers actually have a realistic chance of getting out the East and making it to the NBA Finals?
I think they do genuinely have a realistic chance. I think you gotta get through Boston. Boston being as legit as they were last year. I mean, of course, in the regular season, maybe not winning as many games as they were last year because, granted, they've had some injuries. Like Jason Tatum has been sitting out a couple of games. I think Porzingis has been out for a decent amount of time as well. So, but when these two teams play, it's very competitive. They're very close games. I would love to see that as a conference final.
Boston and Cleveland,
because it's high energy. Yeah. It's very fast paced and it's exciting.
Well, they match up well.
They do. They match up very well, and I think that's what makes it such a great possible playoff series. And I think Cleveland could edge it out. I mean, I think they've got all the right pieces in place. It's really going to come down to, I don't think how Cleveland plays, I think how Boston plays. I think the way that Boston plays will determine a lot of the games. If they have an off night, Cleveland's going to take it, like no matter what. It don't matter. Like I think if Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown falls off, then Cleveland will win that game. But if one of them has a great night, I could definitely see Boston just cruising on through as well. So,
well, Cleveland has one of the best 3-point percentage shooting teams in the NBA. I think they might actually be the best 3-point percentage shooting team. You can fact check me on that one. But so my thing with Cleveland is I gotta see it from Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I gotta see it. Regular season is one thing. Playoffs is a whole different animal. You can't be as fast. Now I do think the addition of DeAndre Hunter is going to pay off and big dividends in the playoffs because he's a great half court player and he's a great defender. He's a good 3-and-D space guy. So in the half court, when you need spacing, when you really, really need the spacing, DeAndre Hunter can provide that. He can crash the boards. He can defend Jaylen Brown. He can defend Jason Tatum. Defend anybody you want to put him on. So I think that addition was a very quiet addition, but it's going to make loud noises come to playoffs. But I do think it really is gonna come down between that backcourt. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are gonna have to be special in the playoffs in order for Cleveland to advance to the finals. I'm not sure that they have it in them. I've seen a lot of Donovan Mitchell in Utah, and not saying that he didn't have big performances, but a lot of his greatest performances came in the bubble. Same way with Jamal Murray. They both had incredible performances in that bubble. And not saying that Donovan Mitchell didn't have incredible performances outside of the bubble, but the level of intense play that Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell and other players, even Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler kind of carried that outside of the bubble too. But the way that they played in the bubble, you would have wanted to continue to see that outside of the bubble, and they have yet to reach that peak performance that they had in the bubble. So I'm concerned that Donovan Mitchell, I'm concerned that both him and Darius Garland can have elite performances series in and series out.
Okay.
In order to get all the way to the NBA Finals. I could be wrong. And I could be partially biased because why the fuck would I want to see Cleveland do anything great? But with that being said, I'm interested to see if they can do that. If they do that, then they'll get to the NBA Finals. But my belief is that they won't be able to perform that elite all the way through. They'll have some great games. They'll have some elite games. They'll get a lot of series. The first round they'll probably win in a gentleman's sweep, no matter who they play. Second round, I'm not sure who they play, but that'll probably, if they get out the second round, it'll probably be a Game 7 situation. And if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, depending on who they play, because at this point, if it's Milwaukee, I think they can beat Milwaukee because Milwaukee they're kind of in disarray. Damian Lillard and Giannis can't really be what people think they're going to be. I don't want to be too long-winded about it, but I just think, like you said, everything's about matchup. So depending on who they play in the Eastern Conference Championship, maybe they can get to the finals, but a lot of things will have to go their way.
Yeah, I personally think that it will be Cleveland and Boston in that conference final. They are 1-2 by a pretty long shot. Like, the Knicks are 6 games back from the number 2 spot.
Yeah, Boston and Cleveland are head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah, else. I mean, and Boston is 6.5 games back from Cleveland from that number 1 spot. So Cleveland's pretty much got that solidified. Damn near. Couple more wins and they'll be there. But
I think they already clinched. Honestly.
Not yet. I think
they clinched the playoff in the conference. They haven't, or is it just OKC?
I think it is just. Actually, I don't know, man.
Yeah, OKC clinched. I know that for sure. But is it just them that's clinched? Cleveland hasn't clinched
conference?
Yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I feel like it would be Cleveland. Shoot, I don't know. Irrelevant.
Right, we'll find
anyways, I think that'd be a good matchup for that conference final. I don't see any other combination happening. I do just think it would be those 2 teams. I don't think New York gets past any 2 of those teams.
Okay.
I don't think Milwaukee does either. Just looking at the other teams,
Indiana, they don't matter.
I don't think Indiana and Detroit's doing anything as well.
None of the other teams matter. You're really just looking at the top 4.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee, and New York. That's pretty much the only teams that have a chance at doing anything in the East. All right, moving on to a Western Conference team. OKC, they have officially clinched a playoff berth. And I'm sure, I don't know if they've officially clinched their entire conference yet, but it looks like, I guess that's still on. They're still underway of whether or not they're going to do that because the West is so tight. But they've definitely clinched the playoff spot. So, again, my question is kind of similar to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it's a little bit different. Are they even legit? Because I think Cleveland is legit in the East, right? Because we're talking about the Eastern Conference when it comes down to Cleveland. But for the Western Conference, because you have Golden State with Jimmy Butler, because you have LeBron and Luka with the Lakers, because you have Ime Udoka and Fred VanVleet with the Houston Rockets and Alperen Sengun, because you have the Clippers that could potentially sneak into the playoffs with James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Tyronn Lue, and Bogdanovich, who has been hooping like as of late. That boy got to LA and just went crazy with him. So you got that going on, and then you also still have. Who else is in there in the mix? You got Denver. How can I leave them out? You got Denver in the mix.
Minnesota.
You got Ant-Man in Minnesota. So it's like, as much as I want to, I mean, obviously I want to shower OKC with the right amount of praise because obviously they've earned it and everything like that. But are they legit, or are they just a young, great, talented regular season team in the Western Conference that because of their youth and their skill set, obviously, they're able to run off a lot of wins because during the regular season, they're able to just play harder than a lot of older teams in the West?
Oh, man. I think that it could turn out to be very controversial because me personally, man, I'm not a believer in OKC at all. I don't think SGA's play is sustainable. I think all of this foul getting and free throw line shooting shit he's doing, is not going to work out in his favor in the playoffs. He's going to look very stupid at times, throwing up very dumb shots because he's trying to foul chase and get to the foul line.
Because they're going to swallow the whistle, huh?
Yep, and I think they're not going to get that call in the playoffs. I think is Chet back at this point? I believe so.
Yeah, I think he's returned.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of it will be up to him and Jalen Williams as far as how deep this team will go. We kind of know more or less what we're going to get from SGA. I don't think he's going to be the dominant SGA we've seen all year. I think we're going to see maybe a little bit of a lesser version of Shea, because I think teams will come in with the right game plan to combat that and really take away. I mean, you see, like they don't call him a free throw merchant for nothing, coach. He's consistently shooting 10 free throws a game. And I think if teams game plan for that and they could find a way around that, and the referees kind of let it play a little bit because they do tend to do that a little bit in the playoffs. We've seen some controversies there. I think that team could struggle, and I think that was their downside and their downfall last season in the playoffs, is that they just couldn't get whistles because their team relies upon that. Their team relies upon getting to the free throw line, getting the other team in foul trouble, and then playing fast and gritty with them. But I don't think they're going to get that in the playoffs this year.
Okay. My only response to that. Oh, I got a couple of responses. Well, really, actually, I guess it is only one response. What makes the difference between SGA searching for fouls and Jimmy Butler and how he searches for fouls? They both get to the free throw line a lot. So what makes the difference in how you are more? Well, let me not put words in your mouth. Let me ask you this. Are you more confident that Jimmy Butler can get the whistle versus SGA getting the whistle in the playoffs?
Well, I don't think Jimmy Butler is as reliant on getting that whistle as SGA is.
I mean, he goes to the free throw line about probably the same amount of time as SGA. At least.
I'll look, but I think regardless, like Jimmy Butler's, the way he plays on Golden State now, like if he was in Miami still and playing the way he was playing there, like I would think that SGA probably has the better chance of getting those calls. But with how Jimmy plays now, he isn't getting as many touches as he was in Miami, with Golden State.
No, it's within the flow of the offense.
Yeah, it's within the flow of the offense, and I think that way he finds himself in more natural instances to attack the basket and get the foul call. He doesn't have to force, a pump fake, get into you, shot fake type of shot. I think it's all going to come within the flow of the offense versus Shea. It is kind of like that force, pump fake, come jump in me, let me just chuck this ball up. You know what I mean? Like I do see that a lot within Shea, and a lot of flopping as well, and that's what I don't like. But I do think it's a lot more forced with Shea, and I don't know if he's going to get all of that in the playoffs. Shoot, maybe he will because he probably wins the MVP this year, so maybe he gets those calls, but I don't know. Last year he didn't get them as much, and that's why they didn't succeed.
Yeah, I'm going to say really quickly, I do think that they are legit. I don't necessarily know if they're legitimate enough to go to the NBA Finals. I have to see them do it. I have to see them beat Denver. I have to see them beat Golden State. I have to see them beat the Lakers. Whoever it is that they have to go through, they're going to have to face one of those older teams. One of those older teams with savvy veterans, guys who are proven MVPs, champions already. They're going to have to beat one of those teams, maybe even two. And until they do that, I can't necessarily say that they're legit. I have to see it. But I do think that they have a chance as a young team, as any other, it's just about as good as any young team. They have a chance to be able to beat those teams in the West that have the savvy veterans and things of that nature. But
I agree with you, though.
Since we talked about Shea and since you mentioned that Shea has a chance to be MVP, let's go ahead and get into that talk. MVP Shea. Me personally, I think the MVP race is over. I think it should go to SGA. I know that most people probably be like, well, what about Joker? And my whole thing about Jokic is everything we're seeing from Jokic we've seen before. Some of the things that SGA is doing statistically, we've never seen him do it. We've seen guys do it, right? It's not like what he's doing is just completely unparalleled. But we've never seen SGA do it. And that is why I think he deserves the MVP, because this is a elevation of his personal game, which is also helping his team. Jokic is doing everything that we've always known Jokic to do. He's not doing anything outside of like what we've already come accustomed to. And maybe you could just say, well, that's the bias in it, right? Just because you're accustomed to his greatness shouldn't necessarily mean that he doesn't win the MVP. If you're going on that metric, then Michael Jordan should have, 11 MVPs,
right.
nine league MVPs, something like that. LeBron should have about 7 of those. Kobe should have more than 1, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're using the argument of like you shouldn't just grow accustomed and grow bored of somebody's greatness to reward them, then there's a lot of guys who's missing out on MVPs. But specifically for me, the way I look at it is like what Shea is doing is completely elevated from what he did last season, and he has even his team in a better record than what they were last season. So I think that for me at least warrants him to get league MVP this season. What are your thoughts? Do you think the MVP race is over, or is it still out on the table for Jokic to come in and take it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the race should be over at this point.
Yeah.
I think Shea has really proved it. He's averaging 33 points a game. And we see every year, like, the MVP award really just goes to the player that has, like, the more trendy season. You know what I mean? Kind of the player that's more in the headlines for having crazy games and stuff like that. That's usually who the MVP goes to. And you know, the last year it was Jokic. You know, he was having crazy games left and right. This year it's Shea. You know, he's dropping 40 points, 50 points,
60 points.
Yeah, he's just doing whatever the heck he wants out there. And but you know, respectfully so, he's playing great. You know what I mean? So it's not like
and it's still amounting to wins.
Exactly. Like that's a big factor is that, you know, he's playing great and he's got the number 1 team, you know, in the tied for first in the league, right? So I think that also plays a big factor. Yeah, I do think MVP, the MVP award really just goes to who has the more trendy season this year, because we could all argue that the past 5 years it should have gone to like LeBron, or, you know, when Kobe was around it should have gone to Kobe more than once. And same thing with MJ. You know, like there is voter fatigue. Like we see that in the NFL, NHL, NBA, and every single sport, there's voter fatigue. They're like, oh my God, we're not going to vote this guy as MVP again because then nobody's going to want to even listen to us as like analyzers of the game. So, but that's not to knock Shea. He definitely deserves it this year, in my opinion, and I think he will get it.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. I would actually be disappointed if he doesn't win. If it goes to Jokic, I would feel like there is some politics behind that. I know that the NBA is trying to move things international. They're developing their own version of NBA Euro League. So it would be, I guess, a good business political move to give Jokic another MVP. It'll make him for a 4-time MVP. Put him in the realms of Michael Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem, because I think Kareem is the one that has 6, Mike has 5, and LeBron has 4. And I think Larry Bird is the only one that had 3 of them in a row. So, you know, he's already in rare company. So giving him another giving him another league MVP, I mean, it'll help his legacy, of course. But I would look at it more like it's a political move rather than it being actually about, you know, the game of basketball for this season and who's actually been the best player for their team and the best player throughout the league for this season.
Yeah, and that's not to knock the season that Jokic is having.
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's still playing great ball and whatnot, but we both agreed like Shea is definitely deserving of it this year. You know, he was in that argument last year. Jokic ended up getting it fair, but Shea definitely deserves it this year. I think that was one of his his mission this year was not only to get his team, you know, at number 1 in the West, but to win that MVP title again.
And to make it clear that like I'm here, I've arrived, and you know it's time for me to be notarized as being that guy.
Absolutely.
All right, that's been the halftime report. Now moving on to the halftime predictions. Yeah. All right, Coach. March Madness is on its way.
Yeah, I mean, what, tomorrow? we're recording this on Wednesday, March 19th. I believe it starts tomorrow. Yeah, because today we have the playing games. First time in tournament history they got the playing games.
I think it's 2 more games. There's 2 games were played yesterday. So
yeah. It was 2 yesterday, 2 today.
So there'll be 2 today. North Carolina ended up making it.
Yep.
They ended up making it.
They sure did.
West Virginia is super pissed, baby.
Oh, like so pissed that their governor is trying to pursue and sue
the NCAA. Good luck, brother. Good luck.
That's crazy.
Good luck. They've been robbing people since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So good luck on that. The governor of West Virginia trying to get some money from the NCAA. Players haven't been able to get money from the NCAA, and they actually played on the floor, sweated, bloodied, and still can't get money for their name, image, and likeness. So good luck, West Virginia. But we're gonna predict our winners. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty short and sweet. I realistically see only 2-ish teams. Like I could see maybe a 3rd or 4th team possibly being in the mix, depending on how things play out. Because March Madness is such a special time of the year.
Yes.
Because of how many upsets happen.
Yeah, one game and that's it.
It's one and done. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it so interesting to watch. But my top 2 teams, I think Duke is my favorite to make it. I think it's a lot of people's favorite.
Yes, I think they are heading most of brackets. I think they're like 27%. Most brackets are being picked for Duke. It's a lot of brackets, so it's spread out amongst like. I know 27% to some people are like, that's not a big number. But when you're thinking about it in comparison to how many people are just picking their alma mater or whatever the case may be, Duke is leaving. Duke is leading most brackets for winning it all.
Yeah, my second team that I think could possibly win it, and I think they'll meet in the championship with Duke, is St. John's. I'm really liking what Rick Pitino's doing up there with his group.
I love what he's doing.
They've been a pleasure to watch this whole year. They've got a great system in place. The players bought in. They're just playing a great brand of basketball, which is why I love watching college basketball more than I do NBA. But yeah, those are my top 2 favorites. I do think that between the 2 Michigan teams, I think Michigan and Michigan State also have a pretty good chance at making that national championship game and winning it all.
Okay.
Houston's my honorable mention just because of how complex and how great their defense is. I think they're a great, well-balanced team, but I think that is a team that maybe they fall off on the offensive end one night and then can't pick up the slack as much on defense. I think they'll have an off night, and that's where they get caught in this tournament. But I do see one of the 2 Michigan teams also making a very deep run, whether that's State or just Michigan University. We'll see. But it's gonna be a fun one to watch this year, I think.
Yeah, I'm going with San Diego State University. I'm just joking. No, I'm not. I'm actually going with Auburn. Just kidding. I'm not going with them either. The 2 teams that I think have a good chance of winning. For me, it's Michigan and St. John's. I think Michigan, they're big, they're long. They know exactly how to play with one another. I've seen some of their games. They're very poised. They've been battle tested. So I think that they have a strong chance of being able to get through the tournament and pulling off a win. And for St. John's, I just love the way they play defense. Like they're everywhere. They're all over the court. They're in your face. They're putting ball pressure on you from full court. And they can shoot really well. So I like Rick Pitino as a coach. I just think they have a chance to pull off something special this season. Honorable mention, like you said, is Houston. I like the way that they're set up as well. Good offense. So that's my honorable mention. But the 2 teams that I think have a realistic chance for me is Michigan and St. John's. I'm not the biggest fan of Duke. Obviously, they're one of the best teams in the NCAA this season. I think they're number 1 in their particular region. So
they may be number 1 overall. I think they only lost 1 game this whole year.
They might be number 1 overall. Yeah. So obviously they have the best chance of winning. Everything is for Duke. Everything hinges on the health of Cooper Flagg. how healthy he'll be coming into the NCAA tournament. If he'll actually have to sit out a game, from what I'm hearing, is that he won't have to sit out an NCAA tournament game. So if that's the case and he's healthy to go, then Duke definitely has a strong chance of getting there. I'm just not the biggest Cooper Flag fan. I'm not seeing the superstar that people are claiming that he is. He does remind me of a great college player, like somebody that in college is super good, puts up great stats, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not seeing that technically translate to the same superstardom in the NBA as some people have him projected to do. But I could be wrong. Shit, hell, everybody doesn't see the same things all the time. That's why you got to play the game. That's why you got to get to the NBA. That's why you got to go out there and show and prove, because we can sit here and look at stats, look at this, look at film and all this other stuff and think that we have the ability to gauge and predict the outcome of a player's success or even a team's success, and they can go out there and prove everybody totally wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the big upside with Cooper Flag, just to note real quick, is that he is 6'8". He's a bigger guy, and he's able to do it on all three levels.
Yeah,
and in every single aspect of the game. He could shoot the ball pretty decently. Mm-hmm. Attacks the rim very well. He plays defense. He can rebound. He could block shots. Yeah. Just a great athlete. He could facilitate. I think that's why he's got so much upside, is because he's so balanced all around as a player. Like, yeah, he might not have a specialty in one area per se, but overall, like, he's very, very solid in every area of basketball.
I agree with you. I think he's going to be I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player in the NBA. I just don't know if he's going to be the superstar that people...
Yeah, no, I could see that argument too.
I just don't know if he's going to be the superstar that people are hoping that he'll be in the NBA. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player. I think he's going to be a remarkable contributor to any great team. Like, honestly, the team I want him to go to is the San Antonio Spurs to play with Victor Wembanyama.
That'd be fun to watch.
And Devin Vassell and De'Aaron Fox. I think that'd be a dope squad going forward in the future, because I think he will complement Victor very well. But if you're asking him to go to a team that is like looking for him to be the new main guy, like imagine him going into Charlotte, and obviously he would become the guy in Charlotte. I'm sure Charlotte would try to move LaMelo Ball at that point. But like imagine him going to Charlotte. Are you saying now that Cooper Flag will become the man in Charlotte? Will it be better than the LaMelo Ball experience? Or is he even as much of a superstar as LaMelo would be? I guess that's what I'm questioning about Cooper Flag.
Yeah, no, that's valid. I could definitely see that side of it as well. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, that's been another show for the Halftime Podcast. This is what, again, episode what?
This is episode 25, Coach.
What, Coach?
Episode 25.
25 episodes in, and we're still going, baby. As always, we want you guys to like and subscribe to our YouTube. Like the page, like our videos, comment, talk with us. Also, let us know how you like this new setup.
Yes,
do you like it? Obviously, we don't have things on the wall just yet. We're going to get those in. But again, if you're somebody that really rocks with our show and you got some portraits that you've done, some pictures that you've taken, some paintings that you've done, obviously we hope that it's all sports related or just some really dope ass shit. Send it over. Let us know how we can get in contact with you and figure out a way to get your artwork or whatever you have on the wall. We can sponsor you. Let everybody know about how you're doing things, how you're rocking and rolling, where you are, where people can get your items or purchase whatever you got going on. We would love to be a part of it because it will help to the dynamics of our show and our set. And if you guys like it, we would love to continue to do this and continue to work with this set the way that it is right here. Other than that, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, the normal shit. Follow us on everything that we got. Also,
yep, there you go.
Also, we are now on all major DSP platforms for podcasting. So you can catch all of our just voice MP3s and just us straight audio as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. So if you go to any one of those, you can catch us on there. It's the Halftime Podcast. You can it'll say Coach Malcolm and Conrad presents the Halftime Podcast as a full name, but you can just search the Halftime Podcast and you'll be able to see all of that pop up on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. So be checking that out. If you can't really get to our YouTube as much as possible, we definitely have the audio going for you as well.
Yeah, and all former episodes and recordings have also been uploaded to there. So
Yeah.
at the time of viewing this episode, episode 25 will be on all of the major podcasting platforms, along with all the way up till episode 1. So pretty exciting time. Appreciate all of you guys viewing and still, interacting with the posts, and we hope to get more of you guys listening just on our DSPs. I know it's a more easier way of kind of listening to podcasts. It's what I do personally when I'm just driving. So hopefully you guys are excited for that just as much as we are. And yeah, I second everything that Malcolm said. I would love to get some of your guys' artwork in here. I like seeing dope shit being done. So it'd be cool to get it displayed up here.
And for us to collaborate with some dope shit, because guess what? We are dope as well. So dope and dope should go together.
There we go.
No drug puns intended for this, all right? For all of you crazy people out there, all right? We are not sponsoring that.
No.
All right? All right. All right, guys. This has been another episode of the Halftime Podcast, episode 25. I'm Coach Malcolm.
And I'm Coach Conrad.
And as always, you know how it goes. Bear down and see red, baby. Yeah.